This is March 12th, 2014, and I was inspired this morning to make a very brief video. I'm going to try to keep this one very short and succinct. But after my last video, I have been thinking about my act, and I really consider it an act. I really do take what Shakespeare taught literally, that we are all actors on a stage. The world is our stage. Essentially, what's happening here is we're deciding who we want to be. We choose the personality, the character. It's between us, our conscience, and our God, if you believe in God. And, it's about a relationship you have with yourself in that decision, in who exactly you want to be, and being that person as much as possible without compromise. Again, like Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. So above all, it's important that we're all just true to ourselves. And if I feel like it's important, and my part in this play, this passion play, this very dramatic play of this bittersweet Shakespearean existence that we're all undergoing, is to portray a manic person that's had enough, that's fed up. Well then, why not? Why begrudge me that? But I just say that because I want everyone to know a few things about me. Is that I don't want to hurt anybody at all in any way. I don't even want to hurt their feelings. Not intentionally, certainly not intentionally, not accidentally. But in the course of being true to myself, that might happen. And it does happen. I mean, I'm trying to be as much like Jesus Christ, the figure I understand from the Bible. This loving, good guy that has only the best intentions for everybody, that taught us we should love our enemies. This is the guy I'm trying to imitate and emulate. But this is the guy that ranted at the money changers, which were essentially the same class of sorcerers we've got in control today. This is where the root of all evil subsides. Now, he didn't condemn these people, but for their own good, he chastened them. He laid down the law. So, it's important that we if you say you believe in Jesus and justice and righteousness and goodness and decency, and, you're an idealist and you want, you're a humanitarian, you want the best for humanity. Anybody that wishes us, that we're all on the same page. Jesus said that whoever is not against us is for us. And, that includes all the faiths of the world, people that have never heard of any religions or anything. It's just that they have that decency inside them. They know they want to be a good person. They want to be ethical. These things are an instinct in a human if we tune into them. But we've got to make that deliberate attempt to turn away from our carnal nature. The things that separate us, we are much more than a body. We have a body to use. But our essence, our true substance, is invisible. It's those unseen qualities that you wouldn't sell for any amount of money. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. That's the kind of values that we need to embrace and say, yes, I get that. That's very interesting. Even people that consider themselves atheists, agnostic, they will say that, they get that theory. So I think that's a very beautiful thing. I think that shows that we have a godly instinct built in, a fail-safe, if you will. That, even people that may have taken their own lives, as soon as they did that and they realized that was stupid, that was a mistake, because they suddenly saw the light, and it's so easy to be blinded by the light because it is so beautiful. And in contrast to the world we live in, which is so full of darkness and pain. I mean, let's suppose for a moment that it is all true, that there really is this guy named Jesus Christ that promised to come again. This is, he considered himself the Son of Man, and he was also known as the Son of God. And he said to everyone that we too are made in the image and likeness of God, and that we are like little gods, since we are God's children and endowed with great power, great potential. Then we are like little gods. God doesn't withhold good things. He wants to be generous and to give, and he wants us to understand these things. He doesn't hide his character, his nature, his personality from us. He wants us to seize on. He wants us to always turn to him. That's why it's written, in our weakness his strength is perfected. He allows us to fall on our faces repeatedly in life, to have all sorts of besetting issues, personality disorders, character defects, so that we always wind up turning to him. And in our right mind, in our real right mind, in the closet of our heart, our mind, when we are alone in solitude, we turn to him and ask him for the strength to carry on one day at a time, and to stand against evil, and to say, you know what, it's not evil's will that's going to wind up being done on this world, on this earth. It is God's will that's going to be done. So suppose it is true that Jesus actually is coming back, and it really is true that he brings this multitude of holy angels with him, and he really is going to clean up the earth. And in order to stand and to be able to receive a renewed earth and the surface, sunlight and everything, that has an inheritance that's purified, where there's no evil people there with no evil, bad intentions. The root of all evil is gone and done away with, that, the lie was exposed, that humanity truly can solve their problem, and humanity truly can get along with one another and have peace and joy and harmony. This really is a fact, and we don't have to believe anybody or any entity that tells us otherwise. We can know with certainty that God is good, has good intentions for all of us, and that it's perfectly logical, it's perfectly reasonable, it makes a lot of sense. Every parent out there can understand. Everybody can understand this instinctively. I don't think you have to be a parent. I just think parents are more likely to understand this idea that God is like our divine parents. This is an eternal tapestry, a cosmic tapestry that we're involved in here. And it's a beautiful thing that we're a part of. And it's as good as we can imagine. And if darkness is around us, we've got to expose it. We've got to say, you know what? It's not going to happen with me not saying something about it. I'm going to object, because this is not good. Future generations are going to look back and they're going to say, how was this person? I mean, even if Jesus doesn't return, think about, 100 years from now. There's going to be other terrible, bloody revolutions. I mean, the 20th century was the bloodiest century in history in terms of warfare. So what makes anybody think that we're not setting up? I mean, if Jesus delays and he's not, his return is not as imminent as I'm led to believe, and I believe is true, that his return is imminent. Nevertheless, there's going to be a generation that's going to look back and judge each one of us individually. And what do you want to be thought of when you're dead and gone and in your grave, which could be 5 minutes from now? We all have to be realistic. That's not being negative. That's just a scientific fact. Any one of us could be dead in 5 minutes. Am I prepared to meet my maker? Are you prepared to meet your maker? We all need to think about these things very seriously. And now, my feelings are that I'm just praying to God for relief. I want decent humanity. I want those that need the relief to be relieved. Okay? So if you are Jesus and you return, and the object is to relieve those that are bleeding out, essentially, metaphorically bleeding out, if you look at this like a wound, and that are suffering the most in this world because of the evil, because of the root of all evil, the love of money, that has created the problems we have in this world, the problems that could be simply solved, but that these money lovers don't want the problem solved. that is against their interest. Okay, they are opposed to goodness ruling in this world. So there's got to be some kind of a showdown here. There's got to be something coming. But the people you would relieve the most, the first, are those that are suffering the most. And if there was just a big line, all humanity in one big line of who was suffering the most, who do you think it would be? Be honest with yourself. Who would it be? Would it not be that person stuck out in the cold, dejected, out there, needlessly, left to die like an animal? A human being, a fellow God. Jesus said, this is me that you're neglecting. I don't want to stand before my God and answer for that. I don't want you to. But ask yourself, where would you be in that line? And I think of myself, I know for sure I'm not anywhere near the front, but I kind of want to be. I kind of want to be the first guy in the front as a vanguard for the rest of the suffering people. And I want everyone to know that I want the best for them. I want them to be relieved of their suffering. I want things to be perfect for you. I want things to be perfect for me. I want things to be perfect for everyone. I believe that's the voice of God talking to us. What else would God want for us? He wants us to attain true happiness. This is it. We've got lessons to learn. These are like proving grounds, testing grounds. Are we ready to go to a better world where there's less pain, less suffering? Where we can really see the light and we can say, I get it. I can imagine a world that didn't have an advantage-disadvantage paradigm, where instead of a very unlevel field, it was a perfectly smooth and level field for everybody. That prosperity was a given at birth. That you are God's child and God is unthinkably wealthy in every way. And remember, whether it's imaginary or real, what is the difference? When you dream at night, do you have a body? Yes, you do. You have a body. And we say, oh, this is all real. Because what? Because of the atomic structure? Because we have mortality? What is it that makes this more real than your imagination? If you can imagine it, it's possible. That's my point here. And it's real. And this whole thing, look, if it could be gone in 5 minutes, I've got to get a grip on what's real and what's not real. Because everything I'm familiar with, from the dwelling I live in, to the neighborhood I live in, the town I live in, my name, my past, my childhood, my children, everything I know, everything I'm familiar with, where I was born, what country I was born in, the planet, all that stuff that is changed dramatically. That's a heavy trip, that we are going to have to all undergo. It's a big dramatic change, and it could happen to any one of us at any time. Let's not just think of that as something reserved for old people. We know every day of the week you see young people die. Sure, the odds are different, but the fact is, nevertheless, it could happen. It's just the reality of our existence. So we need to seize the moment, to be exhilarated today, be who we want to be today, not tomorrow. Don't put it off, because this is it. When we die, that's it. We don't have any more chance to be the person we want to be true to ourselves, and to really be the actor we want to be on this stage, this cosmic, eternal stage that we're here. What are you going to do? You can say, well, I didn't choose to be alive, and maybe I don't want to. It's kind of tough, tough luck, because we're stuck with it. So we might as well make the best of it, and to love one another. Jesus said this supersedes all the teachings. He said you could sum up the law and the prophets, which essentially what he was saying is you could sum up the entire Bible in this, is that these 2 commandments would supersede if you could just love God above all else, because that's the rightful source of every good thing. Every good gift comes from above. So that's the rightful thing, is to love God above all else. And the second is like it, equal. He said that is to love one another as you love yourselves. So the same things you want for you, you must want for others, or you will never attain true happiness. If you don't please God by following those 2 commandments, you won't receive true happiness. And so what do you have? I mean, you're going to be stuck suffering in perpetuity if you don't just get that simple wisdom, that simple truth, that instinctively we all have the capability to understand these things.